Hey, if you're enjoying the content here at Dennis Sperling Unfiltered, make sure you support it by sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And also, hit that little notification bell in the corner so that you'll get notice of each and every one of our live feeds. Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Dennis Sperling, and I want to welcome you all to my page. I'd like to first acknowledge the family of Kevin Samuels, specifically Miss Beverly. Young Miss Caitlin, congratulations on graduating from college. In addition to that, Jeff, thank you so much, Jeff, for all your support. As you guys see on the cover of the thumbnail is a photograph of myself and Kevin Samuels taken on March 11th, 2022. That was at the time I did an interview with him in his Miami, suite. And it was the last interview that I did with him. And I believe that footage is still with his family at this time. And I just wanted to point out that there is a lot of footage that we haven't seen. And I am aware, based on what I've been told, that his family is working expeditiously to cite T.I., the rapper who made that word famous. Expeditiously, they're working to reveal lots of unknown footage. There are other people that he met with, other folks, other footage. Some unknown footage will be coming out, hopefully, on his page. But this is just another photograph. And of course, this is entitled Hater Bait. Now, those of you guys who saw the video I put out recently where I discussed the Kevin Samuels haters and how I was dealing with them, what I did was I give you a breakdown based on my knowledge of resolving conflict. And again, my philosophy is if you do not know how to resolve conflict, then you will not have peace. And I discussed that thoroughly in my books, Rules to Live By, How to Maintain Peace of Mind and Happiness in a Conflicted World, which are available on Amazon. And you can also email me at sperlingdennis@gmail.com to get an autographed hard copy. Here's the thing. When I was asked by Jeff's family to draw attention away from Miss Beverly, who was being bombarded with phone calls from LA Times, New York Times, all sorts of ads, and this is in the wake of Kevin Samuels' death, I did not really understand the full breadth or depth of what I was going to have to deal with. However, I recognized the situation. And I adapted. And I adapted based on my experience, my understanding, and my skill set developed from years of trial litigation, years of growing up in inner city life in general, and reading war plans and war books, documentaries, basically nearly five decades of experience dealing with conflict. I've been able to boil these rules, which I call the rules to live by, which are universal rules, to a science almost. Basically, you can read them out and you'll understand them. What we're going to talk about today is hater bait. And those of you guys who saw my video, and if you look at the rule that's presented here, this is going to be one of the primary rules we're talking about. This is in volume 2. It's called Rule 21. It says, never be where your adversary expects you to be. Now, recently, Kevin Samuels' funeral took place, and there were so many folks looking for me. And when I say folks, I don't mean friends. I mean adversaries. I mean struggle streamers. But we'll get to that in a minute. The first thing I want to do is I want to lay something out for you guys. I want y'all to understand something. In my opinion, Kevin Samuels was the last prophet. Now, I've mentioned this before, but what I mean is he's the last prophet of the Black American community that we will see in this land. The Most High often sends prophets to a people before they are destroyed. Now, what do we know about Kevin Samuels? He was 53 years old when he died, and he was a member of Generation X, the last generation of Black Americans to maintain some semblance of racial loyalty. Generations to follow have no loyalty to the race at all, both the men and the women. To them, racism is merely an inconvenience, and they have no historical or lived reference to segregation or upfront and forward bold racism as their ancestors did. They are fully integrated into the system, and they will date and marry out, and they will breed out, and this is both genders. And so, by my account, based on the studies, we have about 50 years left before what we know as the African American community, those who are descended from slavery here in the United States, also known as Foundational Black American or FBA or ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves. We have 50 years before that group, that group which harbors, handles, holds on to that culture, is subsumed by Africans from the continent and the Caribbean and South America and Central America. Yes, there will be Africans present in the United States, but they will not be ADOS and they will not be FBA culturally. Now, Kevin Samuels, what I want you guys to understand, is a proxy for all Black men. Again, I mentioned earlier that, in my opinion, he was the last prophet. And what did he do? He came and tried to resurrect Black families, resurrect Black men, resurrect Black women. Not that they were dead, but who they were and who they could be was no longer. You have a bunch of unmarriageable women and a bunch of men who have been raised by women to be effeminate. And so what did he do? He started with the men, and for about 5 years, he worked with them, and he got them up to a point, and then he quickly realized, if I don't find these men suitable women to marry, they are simply going to find women from other cultures that are healthier and less toxic, and they're going to marry those women. So if I want to save the Black community, it makes no sense for me to get all the men ready and get them to be high value men or Blue Henrys and stand them up and have them dressing correctly and working 80 hours a week. And there's no Black women for them to marry. So he started working on Black women for the last 2.5 years of his life. And he struggled and he fought and argued, and we saw it nightly. We saw what he did. And, he literally worked himself to death, had a heart attack at 53 years old. And that's it. But in my opinion, and based on what I see, based on the circumstances, there's no race loyalty coming from any of these races coming behind me. And he was the last prophet. Now, what do I see when I see Kevin Samuels? I see Kevin Samuels as a proxy for all Black men. If they can destroy his legacy, they can destroy all of us. Now, I defend Black men. I've been doing that for years on my page. I have allowed Black men to speak. I've allowed Black men to talk and voice their opinions. And I've done this since probably 2013 or 2014, starting on Facebook, Instagram, and these other places. And so I've been listening to the feedback. It wasn't until about 2.5 years ago that I came over to the YouTube space and began to utilize it. And I found that those arguments and those beliefs held firm, many of them housed in what is called the Black manosphere. Here's the thing. Those who are trying to destroy Kevin Samuels have to recognize who they are. If you're attacking the one who's trying to build Black people up, then that means you're on the side of who? Zaddy is a word that people often use. Some use white supremacy, racism. I don't know. But for the most part, you're not on the side of Black people. Now, it seems like every year, Black men are prosecuted publicly. It's some sort of public lynching, whether it's Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, a random football player, actor, whatever. They're always publicly prosecuted and humiliated. And what we saw happening to Kevin Samuels was the same thing. And he had committed no crimes. He was nothing more than a patriarchal male who advocated family and family values. He had a squeaky clean criminal record, yet he was still vilified. Now, in your lifetime, you have not seen Black men standing up for other Black men in their death. The closest thing that we've seen was when Sheila E. stood up for the artist known as Prince when he passed away, when he was being vilified and attacked by the press. But There's not yet been black men who've been willing to stand up for another black man in his death, not since the 80s or 90s, or since the last of the original Black Panther Party for self-defense went out. In fact, you all have been trained to attack. When I say you all, I'm talking about Black Americans. You've been trained to attack black men, or to merely stand by and watch as black men are being attacked. In this regard, you are doing Zaddy's work. Many of you are well-trained pet Negroes. And although you know better than to attack, let's say, the character of a person who shot up a grocery store full of black people, especially if he was non-black, you have no problem attacking a black man who's perfectly innocent of any crime and has done nothing to you. Why? Because you know that if you attack that young man who shot up that church or shot up that grocery store, then you will be punished by Zaddy. And we know this to be true, and that's why you don't do it. It's part of your culture. Basically, what I'm saying is, those of you who are attacking Kevin Samuels in his death, you're both sellouts, you're cowards, you're house ninjas. That's what you are. Because you would never attack a white man in his death. I don't care how heinous he was. You would never go after him and make hundreds and thousands of videos dedicated to destroying this man's character, no matter how bad his atrocities were or what he had done, even if that was against you. And this, in my opinion, is why the toxic culture that we have in the Black American, the culture that we have amongst Black Americans is toxic, and why at some point we're destined to go the way of the dodo birds. It is because it is not sustainable, and it is a problem, and we are not addressing it. And for those who come along who have the courage to try to address it, we shun them, we push them away, just like the good brother Kevin Samuels, who's no longer with us. It was courage, however, that brought me forward to defend my friend, done at the request of Miss Beverly and Kevin Samuels' best friend, Jeff Liscombe. And I did not know, I had no idea, what would happen. But I knew that I could not sit by on the sidelines and let my friend's legacy be destroyed once I was asked to step up to the plate and help my friend. Now, early on in the first few days, because think about what I'm doing, he's being attacked on the internet, right? And so, early on, the first few days, people were calling me, telling me that I couldn't fight the internet, that the internet would win, and that there's just too many of them. And I, being who I am, I refuse to accept that as true. So what did I do? I relied upon what I always rely upon. And what I want to do is bring up a book for you guys to look at. I'm going to bring up book number 3, Rules to Live By, and you'll learn, because remember, I'm dealing with a task that nobody said that I would be able to accomplish. Now, this is the cover of Rules to Live By, Volume 3, How to Maintain Peace of Mind and Happiness in a Conflicted World. And what I'm going to show you is Rule 15. So for those of you who don't understand, when I'm dealing with these things, I'm not just going willy-nilly. So this is a set of books that I wrote about 10 years ago, and you can get the books on Amazon. You can also send me an email, and I'll send you a hard copy. Now, again, they're telling me I can't win. They're telling me you can't fight the internet, right? Here's Rule 15, never adopt another man's limitations as your own. What do I mean by that? Well, my dad used to tell me this. Shout out to my Sperling family, and that's my adopted father, Mr. Sperling, used to tell me that a man has got to know his limitations. And he would say that for years and years and years and years. And I never quite believed that. And it wasn't until after I got in law school, until I began to read profusely, that I recognized that he was only giving me half the quote. The full quote is, a man has got to know his limitations, but a great man knows that he has none. So at the point where my father gave me that quote one too many times, and I remember the day I was at his house, my younger adopted sister was there, my younger brother was there, and he said, you know, a man's got to know his limitations. And I finished it. I said, but a great man knows that he has none. And I realized at that point that that was a limitation that he had imposed upon himself because it suited him, because it calls for him not to push any further or push past his limitations. So this is something I talk about in details in my books, but for the most part, what we're dealing with right here is not accepting the limitation that you cannot fight the internet, right? And as you guys know, I've been fighting the whole internet for about 2 weeks straight now. And I guess you could say I've been on my Kanye, you know. More importantly, I've been, you know, meeting my objectives. I've been winning the battle of the narratives. And even now, people's opinions of Kevin Samuels are changing. Remember how we started, okay? Remember how we started. We started off with the narrative that he died alone with less than $1,000 to his name in the arms of a transvestite prostitute nurse that he had picked up the night before while high on cocaine and Viagra and alcohol and a rental property that he couldn't afford. And on top of that, he was a bad dad, a misogynist, a chauvinist, a sexist, and a hypocrite, right? And remember, this is the narrative that people were going with, right? Who is this guy? This is the guy that the, you know, over nearly 2 million people listen to on a daily basis. My God, this is the narrative, okay? And I want you to look at it 2 weeks later. Where are we? Kevin Samuels is he's damn near reached martyr status. He's been compared with Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, but more importantly, right? More importantly, those who hated him in life are now realizing they truly did not understand the man. And so what does that mean? So now the arguments are being invalidated. That's what we're dealing with. Now, Kevin Samuels' enemies were trying to destroy and slander his name and character. As a byproduct of me and those of us who decide to step up and defend him, I being asked personally to do it, but those others either doing it on their own or following my lead, we've been supported by his fans. This is something I couldn't expect. I thought I was going to go off and do this by myself, and who cares? Started off with 18,000 followers. Well, I think I just got over 20,000 followers, and I was excited about that, right? And now my subscriber count has nearly doubled, right? On top of that, when I do my live streams, Kevin Samuels fans are there cheering me on, and they appreciate the defense that I put up for him. They appreciate me explaining that, no, the nurse was a young lady that he had known, that he had vetted her, that he was basically, she was his 1099. He had met her through her brothers who were his fans, right? She was a beautiful woman. We saw some pictures of her, allegedly. Beautiful woman. I don't want no problems, right? In addition to that, we pointed out the fact that the man was a multimillionaire. We pointed out the fact that he was a teetotaler for the most part, didn't even drink, much less any of those hard drugs, anything like that. These are the things we proved. And in addition, instead of being a misogynist or a chauvinist or a sexist, we pointed him out to be a conservative male who believed in marriage. And on top of that, if anything, he was an Afro-futurist, someone who used technology and all these other aromatic things and who appealed to all the senses, is charismatic man. This is what we were able to prove. And these are the narratives that I pushed out. And now you have other people saying, yeah, this is what we've done. Okay. Now, of course, his followers appreciated that. And they've rewarded me tremendously by contributing financially to my page, which you would expect for a job well done. Now, here's the thing. And this is how we begin to delineate the friends from the enemies. If you are attacking the person who is defending the person, then you are both the enemy of the person you are attacking and the person he is defending. You are the enemy. And a lot of Black people don't like that terminology, but it is true. You're the adversary. You're the opposition. You are the enemy. Now, if you find yourself having a problem with me, right, defending Kevin Samuels, then you're the enemy. And you're also his enemy. And therefore, what you say as far as criticism means nothing to me because, again, you're my enemy and I'm not going to take advice from my enemy, especially when my objectives are being fulfilled. Now, those of us who defended Kevin Samuels' name and legacy have been rewarded by his fans with increased subscribers, monetary donations. His enemies who attacked him are now being punished by his fans. And they will always be remembered as haters and enemies of Kevin Samuels, a man who they loved and who is now being pushed up by the people as a martyr. Those of you who don't like that statement, right? Well, that's fine. You're simply not recognizing reality staring you in the face. If you protect Kevin Samuels, if you protect his legacy, you will be rewarded. Financially, his subscribers will subscribe to your channel because they miss him and they love him. That's just the facts on the ground. And that's what's happened. Now, those asking me to donate my super chats to Kevin Samuels, and I'm dealing with this ahead of time. We're going to get to the books, but I want to lay this out primarily. Those asking me to donate my super chats to Kevin Samuels' family, these same people aren't asking his enemies to do the same. And my question is, why is that? Here's my response. Those who reward your enemies for slandering your name and punish your allies for protecting you, they're your enemies. And again, you don't have to listen to your enemy's advice because it's enemy advice. They want me to stop. They want you to stop receiving financial rewards for defending this man's name. The only people they want to continue making videos are his enemies who are slandering his name, who are defiling his reputation. So you don't have to listen to them. Now, some of you don't actually realize you're the enemies. Even now, there are those of you in the chat room. There are those of you when this video finishes who watch it on rerun. There are going to be those of you who have things to say in the comments section. You'll be saying things like, oh, you're still benefiting from the legacy of your dead friend. Why are you still making videos about Kevin Samuels? Why are you still doing that? Why? And you're a friend. But these same people, they won't say anything to those individuals who've made hundreds of videos and mentioned Kevin Samuels' name thousands of times in a disparaging way. They won't say anything to them. So what does that tell me about those individuals? It tells me they too are his enemies and thus my enemies. They're trying to shame his friends who are protecting and defending his name while questioning the integrity or by questioning their integrity. Because why? Because we're being rewarded by his fans who are cheering us on. While at the same time, this same group is doing nothing about his open enemies who are disparaging his name and attempting to destroy his legacy. This means that they are agents of the enemy because they're trying to hinder his friends, and therefore you are enemies, and the words and the criticism that you put forth should be ignored. Now, most obvious, okay, is that the Kevin Samuels family doesn't need our money. His daughter, Caitlin Samuels, is now one of the richest women in America. She is the sole beneficiary of Kevin Samuels' estate. And he earned millions of dollars, and he'll earn millions of dollars more for his name and likeness. Most likely his life story. More importantly, his mother, Miss Beverly, they don't need your money. They haven't asked for it. There was a GoFundMe account set up. Somebody offered them some money. They declined it. They don't want your money. They didn't need your money. Matter of fact, I will need it. And they didn't ask anybody. And I'm going to tell you like this. It's none of your business if anybody did anything behind the scenes to help anybody out. It's just none of your business. And I know you feel as though you're entitled to that information, but you're not. That said, I want to thank O'Shea Duke Jackson for being one hell of a stand-up guy, okay? Because at the time when I'm rushing to get things done behind the scenes, when I'm dealing with everything that needs to be dealt with, O'Shea Duke Jackson stepped up without even being asked and helped out tremendously. This is the type of person that anyone could appreciate. This young man, all the way over in, I think he's in Africa or Europe or somewhere right now, stepped up and helped out tremendously. My California homeboy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, I can confirm that this wonderful young man, as he said, his name is on the books when it comes to helping out, right? I also want to thank my fiance who was helping me by making phone calls and holding hands behind the scenes, right? To help out our dearly departed. That's the most important thing, that I want to make sure I thank those two folks. And of course, everybody else who helped out. But I wanted to make it a point to just thank them right here and now. Now, here's the thing. Again, I want to ask you guys, right? Why aren't you so-called critics who are in the comment section of all of Kevin Samuels' friends? Why aren't those Kevin Samuels, why aren't you addressing that Kevin Samuels slander club? What's wrong with talking to them about whether or not they're going to donate their super chat money to Kevin Samuels' mom and daughter? What happened to that? Why are you just asking his friends to give up their money? That's the question I want to know. My question to the enemies and the detractors of Kevin Samuels, that's what I want to know. Those of you all who refer to, Kevin Samuels as, black woman haters and misogynists and chauvinists, you think, the black woman is God. All of you guys, here it is, Kevin Samuels' mother and daughter. You thought she needed help so much so that I should donate my Cash App and PayPal and whatever else, maybe my paycheck from my law office too, I'm sure. You thought they were broke and destitute. Where's your money? Why haven't you donated to the funeral expenses? Matter of fact, why haven't you got this Kevin Samuels slander club to donate their proceeds? There were people who were live streaming Kevin Samuels' funeral at the time it was happening. Unwanted, trespassers, uninvited, who never met the man, who never met him any good, who reaped a benefit from doing that financially, something that's easily quantifiable. If you truly wanted money, if you truly thought that Miss Beverly and her daughter needed money, why didn't you go to them first? Because they got hundreds of videos. There are dozens of them. Dozens and dozens of them, but you didn't ask them at all. You're simply addressing Kevin Samuels' friends, the ones defending his name. If you really meant well, you would ask them to donate to his mother. But the truth is, you don't mean well. You're just his enemy. But let me tell you, Kevin Samuels' enemy, something. You've spread his name farther and wider than his friends ever could. As BGS said, quoting the Bible, his enemies have turned into his footstools. His legacy is now standing on your backs. You got little old white folks from Kansas who are looking at that average at best video saying, I agree with every goddamn thing he said. You got people in Australia saying, my God, this guy could have sold out an arena here. You enemies of Kevin Samuels, with all your comments and all your negativity, you are helping promote his legacy. That's what you're doing. Now, here's something else I want to address. Well, let me thank you for that, but something else I want to address. Many of you, and if you're with me, hit the number 1 button. I want to make sure you guys hit the number 1 button. Show your appreciation by hitting the number 1 button. Check in. Let me know where you're checking in from. Make sure y'all tag O'Shea Duke Jackson on this. He's a real one. And I'm going to say that again. I appreciate that young brother. Young brother didn't have to do anything. He stepped up. What an amazing guy. He is the heartbeat of this whole thing they call a manosphere. And any of you guys who are not subscribed to his channel, make sure you go subscribe to O'Shea Duke Jackson's channel. I really appreciate that young man for what he did for the Kevin Samuels family and helping take the burden off of my back and my wallet. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. You're awesome. But anyway, some of you guys, right? You said that you know that I did not attend the Kevin Samuels funeral, and you want to know why. And I've stated why in my comment section, right? I told you guys why. But, you know, for lack of, for brevity's sake, you YouTube struggle streamers expected me to be there. And I knew that they expected me to be there because, and I'm gonna kind of go into I'm gonna go blackety black for a minute. Black Americans seemingly have this, they make a big deal out of death. Okay. It's almost like a cultural fixation. If they print t-shirts up sometimes. I've, been to black funerals, people fall out in the church, and it's a big spectacle, a big attention-seeking activity. It's a big thing, right? And to an outsider looking in, it's colorful and it's a little weird. But Black Americans have a fixation with death. I think we all can agree on that, okay? It's just something. And so if you have a friend who is dead, irrespective of the fact that there might be a pandemic, a fire, or earthquake, if your friend dies, okay, and you don't go to that friend's funeral, then that's considered damn near blasphemy, all right, to many of them, right? And unfortunately, until you get exposed to other cultures who see it for what it is, it's really something that you have to kind of understand. But nevertheless, they expected me, the struggle streamers, most of them African American, they expected me to be there, right? They expected me to attend, and they even had a code name for me. My code name was the Bully. I think I might change my name to the Bully, right? Or add that on. And they expected I would be there. And I suspect that their hope was that they could somehow provoke me to respond in hopes of creating a scene, right? And what would that do? That would create more likes, more views, and it would go to do what? Try to disparage my name, provoke me to say something, provoke me to do something crazy, create news. This is what opportunists like this do. Remember, these are the same people that are talking bad about the man and his legacy and reaping the benefit, and then sending their minions over to our page to try to convince the friends of Kevin Samuel in the comments section to stop doing this. You're taking advantage, while they, the enemy, is growing rich off of this brother's legacy. Men and women who he didn't like at all, wouldn't talk to, wouldn't spit on if they were on fire. So this is what they're trying to do. Now, here's the thing. I explained to you guys that I operate from a certain set of rules, right? And it works for me. And it's the reason why I've been extremely successful in my life. So here's another one. Okay. I want you guys to check this out. This is, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. This is book 2. And I'm going to talk about rule 21 of book 2. And it's never be where your adversary expects you to be. Now, what happened in this particular situation, and this is actually rule 21. And these are books that I wrote 10 years ago, right? And I probably start writing out, my God. Rule 21, never be, if you guys can see that, hit the number 1. Let me make it a little bigger. Rules to live by, how to maintain peace of mind and happiness in a conflicted world, volume 2. Rule 21, never be where your adversary expects you to be. I had a case in federal court. My client was involved in an 18-wheeler accident in Colorado. I was practicing law in Louisiana. So we were going back and forth in the motions practice over and over and over again. Turns out that my client, who actually drove 18-wheelers for the defendant's 18-wheeler company, because it was an 18-wheeler on 18-wheeler accident, he actually had a little book that showed all the pit stops where the defendant's trucking companies would stop. And one of those happened to be in Louisiana. The fight was over jurisdiction, whether or not this accident had happened in Colorado, whether or not the court had jurisdiction over the particular company. Wasn't necessarily the driver. The driver was from like Wisconsin or something like that. But the bottom line is, I needed to prove that the court had jurisdiction in Louisiana, where I was practicing law. And come to find out, my client had this little booklet. Now, had I just simply copied the little booklet and put it in there in the proper brief location, then the defendant would have noticed it, and he might have been able to prepare to make some counter arguments. But what I did was, he filed a brief. I filed a response brief. He filed another brief. I filed a supplemental brief, which was technically unauthorized. And in the subsection, in the filing documents, like 4 or 5 down the line, I put that small page with my client's proof showing that these are all the places in Louisiana where this trucking company operates, showing the court that this court had jurisdiction. Hey, judge, they're right over there in Metairie or Chalmette or something like this. This is Eastern District, Louisiana. This covers that territory. Simple thing, simple thing to prove. Now, the problem is defense counsel didn't bother looking at that because he would have been looking at the primary portion of the brief. He didn't read it all because it wasn't where it was expected to be, because the brief that I submitted, that reply, was in something totally unrelated. I think it had to do with like form non-convenience or something like that. So he wouldn't have been looking for it when it was there. And so when we got to court, we got in front of the judges, and the judge said, well, what about this? I pointed out the fact that, judge, they do business in this state. They got a bunch of pit stops, one of them right here in New Orleans East, the other one in Metairie, Louisiana, which is encompassed by the federal, this court's federal jurisdiction. And then defense counsel, his mouth dropped because he hadn't seen it. He wasn't prepared for it because it wasn't where he thought it would be. Same thing applies here. They thought, and I'm talking about the struggle streamers, that I was going to be at the funeral. But the reason, again, I didn't attend the funeral is because, it was not strategically advantageous for me in fulfilling those objections. Now, here's the thing. I made it publicly known immediately that I wasn't there. As soon as the funeral started, I popped up on one of these struggle streamers live stream, one of Kevin Samuel's live stream, and I said, I'm not there. And as you can expect, they spent about 15 or 20 minutes attacking me for not attending the funeral. Keep in mind, the primary objective is what? To keep them talking about me being their distraction as opposed to harassing this man. So here they are talking about me for 15 or 20 minutes. By the time they get around to the funeral, their line is cut because somebody in the funeral home figured out where they were. They got news of it and told them to shut it down. That's how that works. And what you'll find is for the 24 to 48 hours afterwards, they're still attacking me and probably some of Kevin's other friends for not attending the funeral. Remember what the objective here is. It is to keep Kevin Samuel's adversaries attacking me for whatever reason, therefore causing them to expend time, energy, and resources that they would otherwise spend attacking him. Now, again, some of you may not get it, but this is how it works. Okay, this is how fighting works. You want to fight the internet? That's what I've been doing. And this is how it works. The reason I didn't attend Kevin Samuel's funeral is simple. As I said, it was for strategic reasons. It wasn't a good idea. I didn't want to get in there and become a distraction, which would then interfere with my primary objective, and that is to protect Miss Beverly, Kevin's mother, from the press and these struggle streamers who would have taken anything that was done and thrown it all over the internet. I don't want to be on TMZ like that, right? And here's what happened. How did we know? Because I had initially planned on going, but there was some information that has been stolen. And what do I mean by that? I mean that there was a late Friday night, before the funeral, I learned that a young man from YouTube had contacted the funeral home. Jeff had let me know. And this young man had lied to the funeral home attendant and stated that his name was John Samuels. And this is, something that he admitted on his live stream on May 21st, 2022 at about 11 a.m. for those of you all who are in law enforcement who are listening to this. And, he feloniously recorded the conversation and posted it on YouTube for everybody to listen to. Now, the reason I say felonious is because at the time he was recording the video, he was in Mexico, admittedly, and the person he was recording was in Oklahoma City, i.e. the lady who worked at the funeral home. And he did so without her permission. She never gave consent, and she didn't have any knowledge. How do I manage to get this young man? He confirmed it himself. He said, I'm from Dallas. His phone number, his area code, which he left with the funeral home, said he was from Dallas. And he said, I'm in Mexico right now, but I'll pull up in Dallas if I need to, which was stupid because it's an admission on the record, right? That you're in a foreign country, so you're not even in Texas, so you don't even get the benefit of being in Texas, which has their laws. Texas laws are a little different about recording folks, but she's in Oklahoma, you're in a foreign country, right? And so now what? Now you got a problem. So, and here's something you should understand, that Oklahoma Statute 13, subsection 176.3, I looked it up, entitled Oklahoma Security Commissions Act, provides that it is illegal to record an in-person or telephone communication without the consent, or at least one party to record the communication with a criminal or tortious intent. Illegal recording is a felony punishable by fine or imprisonment. And so, it wouldn't be that difficult to catch up with this young man, because he left his phone number at the funeral home like an idiot. He might as well be broadcasting the dope and the cocaine on Instagram. Like, look what I just sold. Look at all this money. Are you just waiting for the police to pull up on you? But either way, the same young man who's, like I said, from Dallas, decided to broadcast Kevin Samuels' funeral procession. And in fact, he did receive lots of super chats and donations from the public. I think that's disgusting. I even told him, I see this is classless and disgusting. And the most he could do is, point out, well, you didn't have a tie on at Kevin Samuels' party. Like, who has a tie on in a club? I mean, you kidding me? Nobody has a tie on in the club except Kevin. I was taking mine off because I was enjoying that bottle of Ace of Spades that I bought. And, that's how I do what I do. But either way, I realized at that point, once this young man had stole this information and had gotten out, that, these unscrupulous, classless individuals were trying to turn Kevin's funeral into something like a circus, right? And so I opted not to go. It just wasn't a good idea. I let Jeff know the morning, he understood. And the last thing I wanted to do after the last 2 weeks of watching to Miss Beverly, after watching her son being berated in the public, is create a spectacle at the funeral. You see, Kevin carried himself with dignity and grace. I've seen people run up on Kevin and, talk stuff to him. Most people are so nice and kind, but he even handled himself with grace in those points. And the man deserved to be buried with dignity and in a respectful manner. And, I didn't want that carnival to besiege the funeral. They were going to be looking for me. They're going to be looking for these other YouTubers to run up in our face, because that's how they get likes and clicks. And so those of you guys who don't know how big YouTube is, it's a big deal. Matter of fact, the money that people make on here is a big deal to some of these people. Those of you guys have jobs, those of you guys make substantial amounts of money. The $300, $400, $500, couple thousand, even $30,000 or $40,000 these folks make in a year is not that big of a deal. It's what it is. But to these folks, they have nothing else going on for themselves. Some of these guys live in apartments, they live in basements, they're barely making it. They found this, they get 1,000 subscribers, and now they get a chance to make money. And it's just unfortunate, but it shows you exactly what they will do for this pittance of money. Now, the attack on me for not attending Kevin Samuels' funeral is not really an attack on me. It's an attack on Kevin Samuels' judgment, because he held me out as a friend and I held him out as a friend. But more importantly, he held me out as a friend. And so if they can point out that he chose his friends poorly, right, then what did that do? That brings into question his judgment. So in doing so, they are able then to question his life's work. So here's the thing. What you see them doing now is something called, they're attacking the tip of the spear. Now, I'm going to take a quick break and I'm going to pull this rule up, and I want you guys to take a look at it with me, but we'll pull this up in a minute. Make sure you hit the number 1 button. Let me know where you're checking in from. We'll be right back. Hey, if you're enjoying the content here at Dennis Sperling Unfiltered, make sure you support it by sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And also, hit that little notification bell in the corner so that you'll get notice of each and every one of our live feeds. Hey, what's up, everybody? If you appreciate the format and you appreciate what we're doing here, then make sure you contribute to the Cash App, make sure you contribute to the PayPal, make sure you donate to the Super Chat. It's only you and your contributions that keep this thing going. Thanks. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for your contributions. I appreciate it. Let's keep it going. Donate to the Super Chat. Donate to the PayPal. Donate to the Cash App. It's your contributions and your donations that'll cause for this platform to grow. Let our voice be the voice, the preeminent voice in Black America. Okay, so we are back, and I want you guys to check out this rule. And I'm referring to the first book. Those of you guys who have my books, remember, you can get the books online at Amazon. You can also order the books by emailing me at sperlingdennis@gmail.com. I'll put that email address at the bottom. All right, there we go. Bam, there it is. So we're looking at the cover of Rules to Live By, Volume 1. Okay. And what I'm going to do is pull up Rule 42. It says, let me make this a little bigger. Let me know if you can hear, you can see this. I'm sorry, Rule 22, right there at the bottom. Okay. And this is in under the section chapter, Heart of a Hustler. Rule 22, attack the tip of the spear. What do I mean by that? Well, here's the thing. You can attack an instrument, right? Well, there's a couple of things going on, and we'll talk about how you attack. We'll talk about the attack on the tip of the spear. You can attack the instrument which your enemy is using to attack you, right? And so in this matter, what we see happening right now is you see individuals who recognize that Kevin Samuels, right, is their adversary. They're recognizing they're losing the battle because they're losing the battle of the narrative because I and so many others continue to debunk those false narratives. And so because of that, it's making their job more difficult. So instead of attacking the narrative, now they're trying to attack me. Oh, this guy is, he's, where'd he come from? He's not really his friend. That didn't work. Because they got pictures of me hanging out with him, just like on his thumbnail and videos and whatnot. All this stuff strategically placed out there at the perfect time. What else? He's just in it for the money. What else? As if Kevin Samuels didn't always tell us to get our money. Didn't Kevin Samuels put a KS in the chat room if you heard Kevin Samuels telling black men to get paid? Did he tell you to get paid or what? Right? So shout out to hit that KS button. Shout out to Kevin Samuels for telling brothers to get paid. Kevin told everybody to get paid. Work 80 hours a day if you had to. But the bottom line is they're trying to attack the tip of the spear. I am the tip of the spear. I am that spear, right? That is that hardened end that is piercing through their flesh and causing for them to bleed out. The manner in which they're attacking me, like I said, personal issues, referring to my size. I know I'm a big man. I'm supposed to be. I'm, 6'5", 275, 280 pounds now. I've lost a little weight, gained a little back, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. But the bottom line is, at some point, I may even throw some false information out there just so they can have more to attack, almost like a red herring, but not quite, just so they can attack. And then what that'll do is that'll present me with the opportunity to debunk them again, prove they're wrong, and perhaps take legal action depending on how far they go with it. I mean, you never know. Stupid is as stupid does, as Forrest Gump says, and they might just go with it. So I do plan on dumping some false information out there just to get them to do it. But that's what you see them doing. They're attacking me. They're attacking Kevin Samuels by attacking the weapon that is being used to defend him. It's almost as like, instead of attacking the soldier that's carrying the spear, you just take a hammer and hit the tip of the spear and dull it. That's what they're trying to do. But it's not working, because unfortunately, there's not much about me. I'm just an old country lawyer from Texas, by way of Los Angeles, California, and it ain't a whole lot they can do with me other than say I got some kids that I love to death and take care of. So it's not a whole lot going on there. Now, the other forms of attack that you see, right, is something that I discuss in book 2. This one is book 2, Rule 29. And so what I'll do is I'll pull this up real quick and let me know if you can hit the number 1 button. If you guys can see the screen, I'll try to make it as big as I can. So we're talking about Rule 29. Always take the cheap shot and never hesitate to embarrass your opponent. What happens when you do that? What happens when you embarrass your opponent or you make your opponent look stupid in front of somebody, right? They're trying to figure out who's the fool in this situation. And now they have clear and convincing evidence that that guy is the fool, your opponent. Now, here's the thing. As a young lawyer practicing in the civil district court down in New Orleans, those of you guys who are familiar with the CDC, Friday morning was a special day. It was filled with older lawyers, and they acted as the gallery, right? And they pointed out what I would do, is I would watch and I would listen, and oftentimes the judge would respond to what the gallery said, because remember, these are the people who supported her or him. These are the people who paid for their campaigns and basically kept them in a job. And so if you as an attorney were able to point out, hey, this is my opponent's, I'm reading this and then this is a spelling mistake here, or there's a procedural error that went here, judge. And, that's going to cause the judge to question his judgment or her judgment. In addition to that, the gallery is going to reinforce it, but like, yeah, you'll hear the whispers in the background. And the judge is going to key in on that and say, I can't support stupid. You're stupid. And, I'm not going to support stupid, because if I support stupid, then I look stupid in front of the crowd. Now, there was a case specifically and so that's why you always take the cheap shot and you never hesitate to embarrass your opponent, not because of sheer doing it, but because it shows the person judging that they're stupid. You all are the judges here. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take you on we're going to do some intellectual jujitsu, and I'm going to explain how it works. So I was in city court, and if you guys are interested, if this is boring as hell, I know, right? This might be boring, but hit the number 1 button if you appreciate what I'm doing. I'm trying to explain to you guys what's happening here so you can learn. It's not just about selling books. It's not just about me talking to you about Kevin Samuels. What I'm doing here is we try to build Black men. Generally, we try to build all men. Now, some books that I recommend you read: Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Read the Holy Bible. Read it from the perspective of a war doctrine, and you will see it in a whole lot of ways, a whole lot of different ways that your preacher could never explain to you. But 48 Laws of Power, Art of War, definitely read, The Formation of Mankind and psychology books. That'll teach you how people really think. And also The Richest Man in Babylon. Those are some quick ones. And then you'll have a better understanding of what I'm doing. But here's the thing. So I was in city court. There was this young judge, an older judge, actually, a young lawyer, and he worked for this law firm, this defense firm that had contributed to the judge's campaign. How do I know? Because this is a defense-oriented judge who's elected. I get it. But what happened was he had failed to take an appeal timely. I had got a judgment in my favor. He failed to take the appeal because he didn't look at the local rules. A lot of people are taught to look at the civil rules of procedure, but each court has its own local rules. Even if you're in a district court, the city court might have different rules, and they may be in the same building. He thought he had 10 days. He had 7 days to file his appeal. And I simply pointed that out to the judge, and I was adamant about my position. I would not relinquish. I would not, grant him any favors for comity. And so, I pointed out, Judge, this is a simple mistake. It's right here. Here's the book, Judge. Here's what the law says right here, Judge. And the judge refused to side with him because he was stupid. And when someone appears stupid, nobody who is in charge is going to side with them. Now, in reference to these Kevin Samuels trolls and struggle streamers, I explained to them the other day in the first part of this podcast that I was purposely acting as a distraction, right? I suggest you all review that podcast so you can get the full gist of what I'm doing here. However, right, even still, even though I made that public, they're still attacking me. They're still using their time and resources making cracks and videos by the old country lawyer from Texas by way of South Central Los Angeles. And I told them, as long as you all are attacking me, you're wasting time. You're wasting energy. You're wasting resources. I'm not part of the algorithm. Kevin Samuels is part of the algorithm. Nobody's going to watch your videos. You make a video about me, you might get 900 views. You make a video about Kevin Samuels, you can get 10,000. But they're so caught up in their emotions that they can't focus on attacking him, so they're attacking me. And that's my objective, or one of them, primary. So they're wasting time and money. And if you can get your enemies to waste time and money and energy on false targets or dummy targets, not that I'm dumb, but if you can get them to do that, you're winning. Now, you know, I know Kevin Samuels used to say, don't attack or don't worry about the trolls. Leave them alone. They'll take care of themselves. But I'm sure he would appreciate this brilliance, especially as it is to protect his mom. Now, I put that out there on the internet for everybody to see, didn't hold back, right? And yet you still see these individuals attacking me. This young man, I believe he calls himself Rommel or Rumney, Black Man Channel, whatever, Obsidian sent me an email about this guy, and I'm like, come on, nobody believes this guy. The long dreadlocks all the way down his back. You know, God bless you, brother, but you're attacking me. And as long as you're attacking me, nobody cares, right? You're spending your time attacking me along with some of these other trolls, right? Which is exactly what I want them to do. I want them to attack me. And as long as they're attacking me and trying to disparage my name, all that's going to happen, I'm going to make another video and they're going to get washed out in the algorithm. Pretty soon, in 6 months, all that stuff is going to be buried at the bottom of their viewer screen and nobody will see it because nobody will be talking about me, okay? Because I'm just Dennis Sperling. I'm not Kevin Samuels, right? But despite the fact of what I said, they're still doing it. So you as the audience are looking at this. You're looking at these people attack me after I told them that I'm setting them up for a trap, right? You're looking at them like this man has laid out his exact plan and told you guys that as long as you're attacking him, you're not attacking Kevin Samuels. And that prevents his or prevents his mom from having to see all these videos made about her son. In addition to that, it preserves his legacy because in 2 or 3 weeks, this is going to be out of the rotation. There's going to be another couple of stories that come along, and this one will get buried. It may surface again, but it'll never be hot as it is right now. And the reason I can do that is because, number one, these folks can't control their emotions. One of the first things I've taught my sons, even at their youngest age, is that you have to be able to, if you control your emotions or your emotions will control you. That's here in my book. That's one of the main rules here that I cite. And you can check that out in book 1, 2, 3. I'll reference it all the time. You have to know thyself in different ways. I talk about it all the time. If you can't control your emotions will control you. And I recognize that we have a lot of baby mama raised Black men in the Black community. And so all I have to do is get them riled up and they will begin to think with their mother's brains. It's unfortunate, but it's the same thing I teach my sons who practice jujitsu and other martial arts. When you're in a sparring match or when you're in a contest and you're dealing with a young Black male, oftentimes he has not been taught to control his emotions. And so in doing that, all you have to do is provoke him, make him do something or say something crazy. He'll eliminate himself. He'll get disqualified. I've seen my sons do that to other children before. And it's unfortunate that you have that weakness that the whole world knows about, especially if I've written it out in books. You know, they know, brothers. And it's your weakness. It's a vice. I talk about that all the time. But here's the thing. The crowd, you're looking at that. And you're saying, these guys, these struggle streamers are stupid. And when you look stupid, people are just, when you look at stupid people doing stupid things, right? You recognize that I can't follow these folks. I can't really believe what they're saying because they're stupid. Right. And normally it's not that easy. I'm dealing with high professionally trained attorneys who think strategically, who have supervising attorneys who are, controlling them. And so they're not allowed to think with emotions. I can take a cheap shot, try to get them to make a mistake, fine, maybe embarrass them, but it's not this easy. You see, you guys are easy. Again, we're working with folks in the YouTube spaces, untrained, easy to provoke, easy to get an emotional response, uncontrollable. So they're missing money fighting with me because they can't control their emotions. See, they have to respond. They can't let go me merely mentioning their name. They think they're going to get more followers. All they're doing is drawing the wrong type of attention to themselves. They're being outed as Kevin Samuels haters. He has 1.4 million, maybe 3 million followers and growing on YouTube. And they're going to say, well, we don't like you because we liked him. And so they're really just they're outing themselves and they can't help it. In doing so, what are they doing? They're focusing their time and resources on me again, which was the plan and the way I wanted to work. Now, again, this is something I've explained in detail. And so you guys are judging these folks and you said, y'all are stupid. And, why y'all wasting time on this dude, Dennis from Texas, right? When in actuality, it's the Kevin Samuels story that's hot. And so they lose credibility with you because in your eyes, they're permanently undermined, or should I say they permanently undermine their ability to grow their channels. Number one, because you believe what you see. And number two, you can't follow stupid. That's how human beings evolved. You got a guy who's mad at the mountain, so he wants to go fight the mountain with his spear. You're gonna be like, nah, we're not going with you, Ralph. You go over there by yourself. And so Ralph goes off and dies alone, right? Stupid. We are not, as a species of people, we are not designed to follow people who demonstrated themselves to be inadequate or stupid. And that's exactly what I'm showing you these folks are, because they're still attacking me. Even on this video right now, they'll be attacking me as opposed to making videos about Kevin Samuels. Now, here's the thing. Moving forward, okay, I want you've heard what I had to say. Those of you guys who want to buy the books, you can get them. Rules to Live By, How to Maintain Peace of Mind and Happiness in a Conflicted World. But moving forward, okay, guys, I want y'all to listen to me. These are for the friends of Kevin Samuels. I want y'all to live. Friends, allies, those of you guys who love him, right? You consider yourself protectors of his legacy. This is not the time to stop making videos about Kevin Samuels and uplifting him. Okay? His fans and the public, they will reward you with subscribers. They will reward you with super chats and super hearts and every other form of payment that they can. I promise you, the family has no problem with you doing that. You guys are if you're making your own content and you're bigging up Kevin Samuels, man, all that's going to do is help them in the end. Why? Because at some point, they're going to get his channel under control, get his likeness. And the more fans that he has that loves him, the more good information there is that's out there on him, the more money the family's going to make, right? What we can't do is allow his enemies to shame you into stop making videos about Kevin Samuels, because those same enemies who are making videos about Kevin Samuels, they'll be reaping the financial benefit from it, right? And you'd be foolish to allow his enemies to grow strong from using his name while you sit by and let them and remain where you are or grow weaker. You see? So don't misunderstand what's happening right now. The king is dead. And there's a civil war being waged on Black YouTube. There are 1.4 million subscribers who have no kingdom to go to, right? They don't know who the new YouTubers are. They don't know who the old YouTubers are. They have no loyalty to any YouTuber at all. The question that they have for themselves is, who can I subscribe to? So are you going to let them fund his enemies? Are you going to let them go over there and subscribe to their channels because they're the only ones talking about Kevin Samuels, even in a negative way? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, if you give people a dirty drink of water, they'll drink it because they have to. But if you give them clean water, they'll drink that. So if they love Kevin Samuels, but all they hear are all they have available are people out there talking bad about him, they'll go there. But if you go on his channel, if you go on your channels and you begin to uplift him, talk about his life, talk about the things he did, talk about the videos, do reaction videos, his fans will support you. You see? So I advise you to continue making videos about Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels, philosophy, his life, his relationship breakdowns, how he died, how he dressed, all these things. These are important topics. Everybody wants to know about him right now. So don't adhere to the advice of his enemies. Ignore the comment section. When they say stuff like, oh, you're just doing it for the money, go ask them, are you saying the same thing to his enemies? Are you saying the same thing to these people making these disparaging comments about him? Most of the time, the answer is no. So ignore them. They're enemies also. They do not want to see him shine. Most of these conversations can be ignored. And what's going to happen is, at some point, the family will hopefully get his YouTube page back open, and you'll see some of the footage that you haven't seen before. But it's time right now to galvanize, set aside, the shame, the insults, the need to be right. Don't let them, you recognize what's happening. You're being assaulted, right, by his enemies, but you have to continue going forward. This is where we are. Kevin Samuels is going to be the hottest topic for the next 2 or 3 weeks. And when the autopsy report comes out, it'll be hot again for another 2 or 3 weeks. So you take every opportunity to make all the videos you can, uplifting the man, and make sure you continue claiming the narrative that we want to push. Kevin Samuels was a businessman, and he would definitely understand the need to push forward, this line of action while it's a hot topic. and as far as all the haters and enemies, we're going to continue shining. We're content creators. We're not reactionaries. We don't have pages dedicated to slander and besmirch the character of a dead man. You all are going to be out of conversations to talk about, and you're going to go back into being nothingness in the virtual world. So what I'm saying, guys, is make sure you do your part. I want to make sure you guys understand that it's perfectly okay to continue forward. It's a hot topic. Don't let this man's enemies be the only one making videos about him. Period. That's what I want you guys to do. Do not let Kevin Samuels' enemies be the only ones making videos about him. That's not what he would want. He would not want his enemies to get rich off of his death, off of his video. They're already stealing right now. They're already stealing his videos. They're poaching his videos from his page. Don't let that continue to happen. You guys who call yourself his supporters, his friends, keep talking about him. Keep that algorithm going. All right, that's what I want you guys to do. And in the meantime, thank you guys so much. If you'd like to purchase my books, if you appreciate this breakdown, just buy the books. It's easy to get. Send me an email. They're a great read. Again, I probably have sold 10,000 copies. I have about 2,500 left. I probably sold about 100 of them today. I got back orders in. Thank you guys so much, everybody who's supporting the book sales. And I want to see this thing go. But go ahead and purchase the books, Rules to Live By. Remember, Kevin Samuels talked to me about power and influence, and that's what I'm doing. This is power and influence. I'm teaching you guys how to know there are rules that you have to operate by. And if you don't know how to get conflict, resolve conflict, and find peace, your life is going to be hard. It's going to be unnecessarily difficult because you'll always have conflict. My books are easy to purchase. They're easy to read. They're for everybody to read. You'll learn a lot. But here's the thing. I want to say this. I've been blackety black for this whole video, but this is for the Kevin Samuels fans. So, I know I talk blackety black, but here's the thing, guys, and this is something that's broad. Kevin Samuels was a patriarchal male. He was basically someone who spoke to women honestly, and he received so much pushback. The thing is, he was actually for everybody. In this particular case, all men matter, right? He wasn't just for black men. All men matter. If they're able to destroy his character, if they're able to destroy his legacy, the things he was saying, the direction he was headed, what he was trying to do for Western society, all over the world, for marriage, telling women to be feminine again, then they can destroy any man. What starts in the black community ends up everywhere else. So I want you guys to take that all in, right? I need you guys to help out anybody who appreciate what this man worked, because Kevin is dead. He's an idea now. As BGS said, he's an idea now, and because he's an idea, he can't die. The only way we can let him die is if we allow his enemies to besmirch his character and destroy his legacy. We can't allow that to happen. All right, so I need you guys to stand up. Keep making videos. Jump on those comment sections, man. Big up this guy, man. Let's keep it going for the next 2 or 3 weeks. When they stop talking about, when his enemies stop talking about it, we can stop talking about it, right? And if they start talking about it again, we'll start talking about it. Point versus counterpoint, period. This is how it works. But, you know, if the man helped you, the man helped me. He's the reason why I have that lovely fiance of mine who takes care of me. Some of you guys, you videos that you sent me for his memorial, he helped you. Talk about that. The man had got real. He was a man about results. And we appreciate that for what he did. But in the meantime, thank you guys so much. I appreciate y'all. I'll be back soon. This is Uncle D. And as I always say, I'm out.